Hi guys, welcome to Finish Awesome Fridays. Today we're going to discuss the final layer of the 3 layers of awesome. Don't mind me if I shoot through this fairly quickly. I don't want this video to last too long. I just want to basically give you guys this final bit of information. The main idea, obviously, in the 3 layers, you have your structure, you have your foundation, you have your structure, and you have your peak. Okay, you have the good, the great, and the awesome. So with the first one, we started working on daily habits. So we started doing things, the 4 daily habits that we're working from there: less processed food, more fruits and vegetables, more protein, and more water. Okay, that's nice and simple. Doing that daily, and then you start tracking what you're eating, but not have a set goal. Those 2 things are the simple way of just explaining the foundation phase. It teaches you obviously good daily habits, and it starts teaching you about logging in food and starting to see how many calories are in your daily foods that you eat. Okay, that is nice and simple. We then move on to the structure. The structure then gets a bit more detailed. Okay, we started actually looking into setting targets. Okay, getting a total daily energy expenditure that you work to, and obviously you can start tracking too. Okay, and then we also talked about the importance of the protein. Okay, making sure you hit a daily protein intake, 1 gram per pound of body weight, and basically getting that through foods, or if you need to, supplementing it from protein powders. Okay, so we're doing that now. We start tracking there, we start tracking protein, and then obviously the fats and carbohydrates fell where they were, but you obviously made sure they fit into the daily energy expenditure you were doing, the calories that you were going to have. Okay, so that was the structure. Working through from there, obviously now we get to the final stage. Okay, where I'll just quickly go through sort of the final pieces, really, just the fine details that we have to go through, not necessarily the most important. The most important is always going to be that foundation layer. Then once you've done that, then it's the structure, and finally you can do things like this on the peak. Okay, so nice and quick. Okay, carbohydrates. Okay, that is the next macronutrient that we need to start thinking about tracking. Okay, now depending on how much body fat you have, how overweight you are, or what your daily activity is, your carbohydrate intake will vary. Okay, just like the protein, where there was a range to hit, the range for carbohydrates, I'd say for most everyday athletes, will be anywhere between 0.5 to 1.5 grams. Okay, I would say you, as I say, if you're overweight, you're probably going to be on the 0.5 grams. If you're very lean, naturally sort of very wiry, you'd probably be on the higher end. Okay, and the idea of that is obviously to get your daily nutrition in, get your energy in, but not necessarily eat more than you require. Okay, the idea of carbohydrates, just very quickly, carbohydrates get broken down into glucose into the body and get stored as glycogen in the liver, in the muscles. Okay, and obviously utilized by the body for the energy we do. Okay, there's also showing that it's good for the neural system as well, which is your sort of the brain function and everything else from there. Glucose obviously powers that as well, and so it's very important macronutrient to have in the body for power. Now you can obviously go completely keto and not have carbohydrates and live without carbohydrates. Of course, there's people out there that do. What the difference is there is the body will break down the protein that you eat and turn it into ketones, which is an energy source that the body can use. And there's been positive and negative benefits of that. But again, it's not something that I go too far into, because I don't generally think that you need to cut any macronutrients out or any foods out. Okay, you should have, you know, proteins, you should have carbohydrates, and you should have fats. They all have a function in the body, they're all needed by the body, and so we should consume them. Okay, but how much you consume of the carbohydrates then becomes the issue. Okay, as I say, if you're very much of the ilk that you need to lose weight, it's probably better that you start at the lower end of the carbohydrates thing from there. For most people, it's probably the best thing to do anyway, because what you'll start seeing is probably how much carbohydrates you actually eat in a day. If you give yourself a target of 0.5, for example, I use myself, a 200-pound male, I would have 100 grams of carbs a day. Now, in theory, you think, oh, 100 grams of carbs, that sounds like quite a lot, but then I start working out my daily food intake, and it's not long before I've worked my way through 100 grams of carbs. Most days for myself, I'm having, as I say, 100 grams on some days, and up to sort of 300 grams on other days. So, and I find it very easy to eat the carbohydrates. So as I say, it's an interesting experiment. I would give it a little go. So what that means going forward is obviously you start off at 0.5, see how your body reacts, and then you can make changes from there. And this is that accountability. This is you taking charge of your diet and making sure that you're getting the results that you want to get. Okay, so start tracking your carbohydrates. Depending on your body fat percentages, depend where you go on that chart. I would always start at 0.5 if you're overweight, and if you're very lean or very wiry, then you will obviously go for the higher, the 1.5 to start with, and work your way from there. That would generally mean that's generally how it works in terms of the carbohydrate intake. And again, play with it, see how it goes, change it if you need to. Okay, that's the idea of this diet. That's the idea of using this nutritional system. Okay. Fats next. Fats will fall where they fall. Literally, they are the buffer of the calories. Okay. Once you've worked out your protein intake and your carbohydrate intake, whatever is left is your fat intake. Okay. So it's very convenient. And as I say, doesn't then matter if you're having obviously the higher end of the carbs, your fats will be lower. If you're having the lower end of carbs, your fats will be higher. And generally speaking, that is how it should be. On certain days, you'll basically want to eat more fats. Other days you'll eat more carbs. That will explain in a couple of seconds later. But basically, that is the general idea. Okay. So what that means, let's use a 200-pound male again to go through this. So 200 grams of protein. Obviously, we discussed 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, and we're going to go with the 0.5 because I'm feeling a bit overweight. I want to sort of tighten up a little bit for the summer. Okay, so I'll stick in 100 grams of carbs. Okay, there are 4 calories per gram of protein and carbohydrates. So it's simple maths when we're starting to work out calories. Okay, so 200 grams of protein is 800 calories. 100 grams of carbs is 400 calories. Add those together and take them away from a base level. Let's say 2,400 calories a day. It came out of my calendar to do. Okay, that leaves me with 1,200 calories, which then I divide by the amount of calories per gram of fat, which is 9, and that gives me a number. Okay, so that is how you would work it out. You've got your total calories. Okay, take away your protein, take away the calories from carbohydrates, and that will give you a number. That is your fat intake in calories. Divide that by 9 because there is 9 calories per gram of fat, and that will give you a result. So for me, for this example, I'd have 200 grams of protein, 100 grams of carbs, and 133 grams of delicious fats. So I would eat a lot of peanut butter that day. That is good news for me. Okay, so that will give you a general consensus. As I say, that is how you would work out your fat intake and your carbohydrate intake from there. Okay. From that, we then have the 2 models that generally most people will use within the nutrition realm, and this is where it gets a little bit more, again, a little more complicated, a little bit more involved. So at this stage, if what I'm explaining to you is sort of blowing your mind and you don't think you're ready for it or you don't want to do it, then just don't. Okay, but let me just explain these last little bits, and then you can start making that decision further down the line. Okay, there's 2 approaches that I believe mainly most diets will fall into. You have your linear approach and you have a cycling approach. Okay, the linear approach is basically just doing the same thing every day and basically changing it over the course of months and weeks to get the results that you want. So for example, if you wanted to lose weight, okay, say you started off at 2,400 calories, let's say, okay, what you want to start seeing is that the body will start slowly dropping weight. Okay, that is the idea. It should be coming down in weight steadily. 1 to 2 pounds of body weight per week is a good healthy weight loss. Okay, if you want to lose a majority of fat in that term. Okay, what will start happening is if it starts slowing down or stopping and your body isn't sort of changing at all, you then start knocking down your calories and then start going down again. So the idea of the linear approach is you have the same calories every single day. Okay, starting off with whatever your TDE is. Okay, and you'll just eat that every single day. Weigh yourself, see what your body's doing, and then if you're not losing the weight, or your body stands the same, or even if you're gaining weight, you just start lowering those calories down and it starts coming down. It's a fairly simple way of starting your daily tracking. Okay, it's a good way for beginners to start. It's a good way to start your dieting, just because it teaches you about tracking. You'll start learning a bit more about how you manipulate these numbers and how that affects your body. And generally, it's just a good thing. It's just a good way of doing it. It's nice, simple. Every day, you wake up. It's like, today I've got to eat 2,400 calories. you know, tomorrow I've got to wake up and eat 2,400 calories. I don't have to think about different days, different calorie intakes, different carbohydrate intakes. You know, it's just nice and simple. So that is a great way to start, and I'd always get people to start on the linear approach and then work from there. Okay. Next up is the cycling approach. Now this is a lot more of an advanced variation. Okay, there's millions of diets that utilize this. Okay, you can either cycle calories, you can cycle macronutrients, or you can cycle both. Okay, that is the idea of the cycling approach. Every day you wake up, and dependent on your level of activity, it will change the macronutrients you do. So again, let's use a 200-pound male. Basically, they've worked out their TDE and their BMR. Okay, so that's, you know, take those two numbers. Okay, for me, for example, my total daily energy expenditure worked out at 3,000 calories, and my basic metabolic rate worked out at about 2,400 calories, let's say. Okay, so what that would mean is on days that I trained, on higher intensity days, or on particular days that I choose, I would eat more calories, and on days I didn't train, I would eat my basic metabolic rate, I would eat less calories. Okay, the general idea is it's not much different to the linear approach. Okay, you'll still weigh yourself 3 times a week, you'll utilize the calories and carb and foods that you said you would eat, and then you should still see over the week that rate of decrease from your calories. Okay, that is as simple as it can be, but that is, as I say, that is a nice way of doing it. Carbohydrate cycling and all the rest of it. So if you wanted to cycle your carbs, have more carbs on training days and less carbs on non-training days, then that extra few hundred calories will be what the energy source will come from. I'll just eat a lot more carbs on my training days, a lot less carbs on my non-training days, and I'll cycle through that approach. But the same rules apply. If I want to lose more weight, if I'm not losing weight, I take some calories away from both numbers and I start bringing my numbers down. If I want to gain weight, I start bringing those numbers up. So the only difference between cycling and linear is literally that. In a cycling one, it goes up and down depending on your daily activity. And then on a linear, it just stays the same every single day and you go on and lose weight. The important thing to remember is always that it's the total calories that count. It is not any special thing that you're doing other than that. If you want to lose weight, or if you need to lose weight, simply being in a calorie deficit is all that's important. So the linear approach is always the easiest way to go through it. And what you can actually do is start chipping away your calories on your linear approach and making it a bit more like a cycling approach in the future. But just don't worry too much about it. Okay, the simplest way to start is having a daily calorie intake that you take in, eating a certain breakdown of macronutrients every single day, and then working from there. Okay, you can still cycle your macronutrients on a linear style of progression. For example, if you eat 2,400 calories per day, but you have more carbs on training days and less carbs on non-training days, then that is a cycling approach. Okay, that's carb cycling. Okay, but that is working on that linear model of the same calories from there. Okay, so that, as I say, is just a bit extra, just to explain. You know, you've got different sort of ways of doing it. If you're interested in you know, me explaining it in more detail and going through the minutiae of it, or even helping you with your nutrition, then I can do that. I can explain that in a bit more detail. But just to understand and to reiterate, I am not a qualified nutritionist. I do not give out meal plans. I do not tell you what to eat, when to eat. That is very much based on your own personal medical things. You know, if you're diabetic or have a, you know, low inactive thyroid, or have any medical problems that are going to affect weight gain and weight loss, then you should be speaking to medical professionals and professional nutritionists who deal especially within those things. Okay, don't just come to any old PT, and because they know, you know, they think they know what they're talking about, taking their word as gospel. Okay, this is only advice. It's how I structure my diet and how I think, you know, it's easiest to structure your diet to work forward. But always take medical or professional advice in terms of exactly what you're eating in your diet. Okay, but this will give you a structure and a base and obviously a peak to work from. And this is how I see the industry and how it basically breaks down. Okay, so taking it from there. Okay, just to wrap it all up, the 3 layers of awesome are: layer 1, your foundation, eating you know, good foods every single day, drinking lots of water, doing that nice and easy. The second layer, the structure, you're then starting to figure out how many calories you actually should be eating a day, increasing your protein intake because it's the most important macronutrient to be ensuring that you get plenty of, and tracking your calories every day. You might get to a point where you hit that and you get your results and you don't have to worry about the final stage, but the final stage, which is your peak, is then tracking carbohydrates, making sure that your carbohydrates are under control, and making sure your fats fall in to fill in the rest of the calories from there, okay? And then obviously manipulating your calories daily or staying in a linear progression, but still working towards that goal of either losing weight or gaining weight, okay? It's as simple as that, guys. That is nutrition, the 3 layers of awesome. The next 3 layers of awesome I'll go through, I'm actually going to start discussing training. That will be in a few weeks because I've got a couple of videos coming up. I want to discuss my, you know, training philosophies and everything else from there, dispel some myths, things like that, maybe do a couple of different videos up from there. But so for the next 3 layers of awesome, the foundation, it will be talking about training, how I structure training, how I see training, what sort of it falls into, and taking you through the 3 layers of awesome from there, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the 3 videos. Like and share, and if you want anything answered on the industry or anything that you think that I might be able to help you with, then obviously just get in contact with me any way you can. You know, I just want to get as much information out to you guys as possible. It's not a case to showcase any sort of skills that I have. It's literally just to kind of give that information out there and hopefully inspire or help even 1 or 2 people if I can. All right, just be awesome, guys. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week for Movement Monday. Catch you later.